3 hours, starting to take a toll. The nightmares are becoming more frequent. Strange visions. The feeling of an endless darkness overcoming me, causing temporary madness. I'm powerless as fear washes over me like a cold, stinging wind. And the voices, the whispers in my mind calling out to me, while something else stirs in the black hole that surrounds my heart. They seem to drag my soul, ripping it away, stealing me. At first, I chalked it up to the stress my work has put on me in recent years. A private detective with a target on his back, of course. I've tackled city corruption, high-profile missing persons cases, conspiracies by influential organizations, and even murder. Threats on my life are a dime a dozen, and I've been arrested by corrupt police multiple times, shot at, and even forced to escape criminals before torture. The toll on my personal life was irreparable. How can one start a family when danger lurks around every corner? Dames come and go in my life as quickly as I need them. I throw them away like yesterday's news, getting to the next day's headlines with help from a bottle of whiskey. I thought about giving up many times before the new decade, but whenever someone comes calling, I seem to get the courage for one last case. I've had 20 last cases in the past 3 years. No thank yous, no awards, no press. Just the invisible man behind the scenes, falsely believing I'm saving the world. But now, it's 1923, and I thought I finally had enough. I thought I was finally gonna be free and leave this wretched city behind. But then she knocked. Like a sucker, my heart forced me to listen, but all I could hear was her sweet voice. Her light red flowing hair coming out from under her hat like flowers searching for sunlight. Her bright scarlet lips shining and glistening in the dim light, almost brightening up the room by themselves. I was mesmerized when she said her name was Jane Lemon. Who was she? What did she want? She mentioned a missing person, only gave me a first name, Franklin. Said his disappearance was a matter of national security, though I wasn't buying it. She mentioned a few names and places, not much to go on, and I hesitated to agree to help. I really did. But the sweet smell of her perfume scrambled my intuition, tricking me into stupidly acting like I was 13 years old all over again, thinking she could love someone like me. She told me to wait to hear from her again. She would somehow get me a message to meet in a secret place. When I asked how long, she simply smiled and touched my shoulder. By the time Miss Lemon left, I was already in too deep. That's also when the nightmares started, though I could barely remember them at first. It wasn't until tonight that I realized this was something new. This was not PTSD from a life filled with trauma. Perhaps this will be my last case. I have 3 hours to get myself together. Today, I received a telegram. All it said was, "Meet me under the docks at 2 a.m. I knew it was her. Sounds like a trap, but how can I resist? I document everything I remember from these dreams. Something about the call for help this time made me shiver. Made me think Miss Lemon was in danger. I remember a game, some sort of fantasy world about football. This makes no sense to me. It's only been a few years since the start of the American Professional Football Conference. I didn't even think it was that big. Kinda ignored it. But these images in my head don't seem real. The players and football teams don't exist. I checked. It's almost like this comes from another world. Or another time. But 12 team names keep flashing at me. A few that seem to change as if erased from existence and replaced with another, like someone is editing my dreams. And one constant image is burned into my mind. Some sort of trophy. Must be symbolism. Something I picked up in my conversation with Miss Lemon that I haven't worked out yet. Every dream has a hidden meaning. Finding out this one could help me. Then again, it could also be my madness finally affecting my work. Still, I need to know more. I need to discover what it means. What is the Green Bull?
Welcome to the quest for the Green Bull, Lost in Dreamlands, a fantasy football show with a cosmic horror twist. I'm your host, straight from the void, Anthony Ozo, and I am more than lost after the worst fantasy football season of my life led me to be the dick butt a year ago. Last place is not fun, let me tell you, and I plan on redeeming myself in 2024. But so do 10 other squads as we all chase current defending champion Green Acres. Later, we'll see the preseason rankings based on computer projections following our draft. But let's take today's episode to discuss what actually transpired on August 25th when our 12-team non-PPR league drafted. And there is a lot to take in. There was only one pre-draft trade this year. My Minerva's Minions traded with More Than Conquerors. I sent the first pick in the 5th round and the 9th pick in the 6th round for the 7th pick in both the 4th and 8th rounds, as I didn't have a 3rd round pick. Got 2 4th rounders. That's what I wanted to do. To be honest, though, the real trades happened before the 2023 deadline last year. Air Jordan accumulated 3 extra 3rd round picks and a second 9th round pick, leaving the elite Mother Tuckers with 2 4th rounders. Remember the Titans with 2 8th rounders and my Minions with the picks I used in that pre-draft trade. And of course, none of us had 3rd rounders because of it. Air Jordan also didn't have 4th, 5th, 6th, or 8th round picks. So we'll see how that all went. But let's get going. There was a very interesting first round, actually. Not necessarily crazy for our league, but 5 running backs off the board with the first 5 picks. That's crazy compared to mock drafts in other leagues. McCaffrey is a clear top pick after last season, but there's always an injury concern, especially with him being on the Madden cover. The curse is real. Air Jordan had no choice, though. He would have been laughed out of the building if he didn't take McCaffrey, and he will get a healthy McCaffrey. If he has a healthy McCaffrey, he'll get 15-plus points every single week. I mean, one year he was getting 20-plus points a week. So that was where things were normal. Things got interesting with Breece Hall taking second. He's expected to get over 1,600 total yards and 11 touchdowns in projections. Even on a terrible Jets team, he finished with almost 1,600 yards and 9 TDs last season. Aaron Rodgers could elevate Hall even more if the Jets have a better passing attack, but Rodgers is older and coming off an Achilles injury. We'll see if he comes out with that flag in week 1 this time. Regardless, I mean, you can't really go wrong with that pick because Hall showed that he can do it even if the Jets are terrible. And if the Jets are good, he might get even more chances, so we'll see. The riskiest pick in these top ones, I think, is Bijan Robinson at number 3, just because he hasn't proved anything yet. And while he does have tons of talent and a better quarterback in front of him, he also needs to get more touches than last season. Tyler Algier could probably start on another team and is a clear 1B to Robinson's 1A, which means Algier's gonna get touches, and that's gonna take away from Robinson's value. Saquon Barkley was taken 4th, and he is on a better team this year, which should allow for more opportunities. However, he did get injured a lot early in his career, and Jalen Hurts could vulture touchdowns. Obviously the Eagles love to run him in goal-to-go situations, and not to mention the Eagles do tend to give random guys carries too, which would force Barkley to have to be very efficient with his touches. The same can be said for the number 5 pick, Derrick Henry. His yards will most likely be down with his age and with how Baltimore mixes things up. Not to mention Lamar Jackson is a very mobile quarterback who's going to vulture yards and touchdowns himself. The key for Henry will be goal line work and getting more touchdowns as his yards are expected to be down. He's not going to get those Tennessee Titans, 250 touches most likely. But we'll see. You never know. The Ravens do love to run. Wide receivers rule the rest of the first round, with CeeDee Lamb falling to number 6 because of a holdout concern. That concern no longer exists, so that's a pretty good steal at number 6 for More Than Conquerors. Tyreek Hill's another steal at number 7 because both of those guys could very easily go in the top 3 of most drafts. They're going to be the top 2 wide receivers in the league, most likely, Lamb and Hill. Even if they're top 5, that's still a great pick. Justin Jefferson is a beast and would be considered a steal at number 8, but who's going to be throwing to him? Sam Darnold? That's pretty trash. The Vikings are in trouble. We'll see if Jefferson's quarterback proof, but even the best wide receivers tend to struggle if the quarterback is terrible. Amon-Ra St. Brown, the sun god, went to the defending champions and should be solid again with his production. He did have 10 touchdowns last year, which could come down if Jameson Williams gets going. But the yards should remain high with Jared Goff throwing to him, so that's a plus there. A.J. Brown went at number 11, and he really only contends with Devontae Smith and Jahan Dotson for targets, meaning Brown doesn't really have much competition for touchdowns. Smith and Dotson tend to get long touchdowns only, so pretty much everything from the 25-yard line in, if it's a passing touchdown, it's probably going to Brown. Garrett Wilson is the biggest question mark in the first round in my mind, taken a little high by the Clash of Demon Head. He will need Rodgers to throw him the ball more often. Wilson is a clear talent, but bad quarterback play clearly limited him in 2023. Travis Etienne, falling to number 21 in the second round, is the biggest surprise early on, with Etienne possibly going in the first round in some mock drafts. Cooper Kupp went to the Overcomers at number 20, so that's considered a kind of a risky pick in that Kupp was going in the 4th round in a lot of drafts, but Kupp could also be an absolute maniac and get back to his wide receiver 1 type production, so we'll see. Marvin Harrison Jr. was taken at number 18 by Loki Lebowski Thor, and he has a lot of potential. Everybody thinks he's going to be a beast. He's also a rookie and has Kyler Murray thrown to him, Kyler Murray is obviously talented, but he hasn't really shown that through a full season, so we'll see. Then we get the oddity of pounders, taking Josh Allen at number 23, and then taking Lamar Jackson at number 26. Are you kidding me? 2 quarterbacks so early with such close picks is the strangest thing I've ever seen in any draft. And I saw Aaron Rodgers drafted at number 7 just 4 years ago. So I've seen some shit. Pounders also took a 3rd quarterback in the 7th round, Jaden Daniels, in a league that never trades for quarterbacks. What you need with 3 quarterbacks, I'll never know. Daniels is taken in the 11th or 12th rounds in many mock drafts. At some point, you guys start dropping guys for waiver pickups, so we might get some random Jaden Daniels dropped on waivers coming up soon because no one's going to trade for him. Air Jordan loved the Jackson pick, though, because he was able to get 2 decent wide receivers in the 3rd round after taking Rachaad White and Kenneth Walker III with picks 24 and 25, giving him the best running back trio in the league, hands down. He grabbed Devontae Adams and Jalen Waddle at 27 and 28. Waddle is a great wide receiver, too. Adams is a very risky wide receiver 1 who might end up being wide receiver 3 if Las Vegas struggles. Air Jordan later took the 3rd best quarterback in the entire draft with Patrick Mahomes. That was his 4th 3rd round pick, so he pretty much had his starting team set. But he didn't pick for a very long time after that, so he was probably sweating that. Drake London and Travis Kelce look to be very early picks in the 3rd round. Very surprising. The overcomers and more than conquerors will need solid seasons from both of those picks, or that might hurt a lot. Jordan Love being taken 36 might be even crazier than all those quarterback picks by Pounders, though probably not. But still, that's very high for a guy that was going 6th or 7th round in most drafts. The Clash of Demon Head went with their gut, though, and I do have to say Love was the 6th best quarterback last season based on points. He's the 5th quarterback taken off the board here, so maybe it's not that big of a reach. Joe Burrow being taken 38th by the Stellar Bitches is also surprising, considering that C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson were taken by the Overcomers and Minerva's Minions with the 44th and 45th picks, respectively. Both of those guys have higher ceilings than Burrow. Trey McBride and Sam Laporta being taken in the 4th round were also surprising picks, especially McBride, who's going 7th or even as far as the 8th round in most mock drafts. The other huge surprise is the 4th round pick of Brandon Ayuk, falling to 43rd overall to Minerva's Minions. This was because of holdout concerns, but still, the Minions, my Minions, getting a low-end wide receiver 1 to pair with Barkley and Etienne does give a solid trio. Very exciting there. Stephon Diggs, however, is a risky pick for my Minions. Diggs has more competition for targets in Houston, but he could also see less double teams, which is when he really shined in Buffalo, so we'll see. Remember the Titans taking Malik Neighbors with the 56th pick is actually surprising as well, as Neighbors was going way later in most drafts, 8th or 9th round actually. Risky Business got a steal with Mark Andrews with the 57th pick because of that Neighbors pick, most likely. It's amazing that Andrews went all the way into the 57th pick. Low-key Lebowski Thor is betting on Raheem Mostert not having a TD regression, which, to be honest, is probably going to happen. You don't get 20 touchdowns every single year. Still a solid 55th pick, even if he only gets 12 touchdowns, 10 touchdowns, whatever. That's a good pick. The Stellar Bitches trust Jake Ferguson over Kyle Pitts and Dalton Kincaid. All three of those tight ends were taken off the board in the 6th round. After the top tight ends, even guys like Ferguson and Pitts seem nothing more than touchdown-dependent options. So my belief is they should have stacked up on other players, but who am I to judge? And all these projections are nonsense anyway. Though I do look at Pounder's 71st pick here, Dalton Kincaid. That could be a steal because I think without Diggs, Kincaid might be the number 1 tight end in the entire league this season if his touchdowns and yards see a jump. More Than Conquerors is banking on Nick Chubb bouncing back from an ACL injury that will keep him out for multiple games. Air Jordan finally picked again in the 7th round and took Tank Dell, who might see a drop in production if Diggs goes off, so I don't know about that pick. The Cleveland Browns defense being taken at 78 is absolutely wild. This league is crazy. More Than Conquerors making a big leap there, last season's runner-up team. The defending champions began to auto-draft and took Jalen Warren over Najee Harris, who fell to the Stellar Bitches. The Clash at Demon Head decided the 84th pick was the time to take kicker Brandon Aubrey, which set off a chain reaction where defenses and kickers started flying off the board way earlier than they should. That allowed Keenan Allen to fall to the Overcomers, Terry McLaurin to fall to Minerva's Minions, Chris Godwin to fall to Pounders, and Rashee Rice to fall to Remember the Titans. All great mid-round wide receiver picks based on projections. 3 rookies went early in the 9th round with Ladd McConkey, Xavier Worthy, and Roma Dunze. Air Jordan, Pounders, and the Elite Mother Tuckers are all looking for their Puka Nacua with those picks. The Chicago Bears defense going at 106 is absolutely crazy too, but why not in this league? Many defenses were off the board already, so the defending champs will be hoping for a big turnaround from that squad. With kickers going early, the Elite Mother Tuckers once again got Justin Tucker with the 118th pick. My favorite pick in the 10th round was Khalil Shakir to the Overcomers, as Shakir could take some digs targets and actually end up being the second guy behind Kincaid in that Bills offense, which means that's a very good 10th round pick. Jackson Smith and Njigba is a solid 11th round pick by Pounders. I think he actually fell further than expected. Chase Brown could end up being the top running back in Cincinnati, which would be a huge boost for Loki Lebowski Thor. And if Jameson Williams breaks out like everyone thinks, then the Clash at Demon Head have a great pick at 133. More Than Conquerors getting the handcuff for Nick Chubb and Jerome Ford is a pretty big 12th round pick. Ford was actually going a little earlier than that in a lot of rounds, so I kind of think that's a steal. Don't sleep on Dontavian Wicks, as the Pounders could have a sleeper touchdown machine with their 143rd pick. Marshawn Lloyd is another Packer. They could end up being a sleeper. Could end up being the top running back in Green Bay, actually, which means that Air Jordan would have trade bait and amazing depth at running back if that happened. The best late round pick is clearly Jaleel McLaughlin, who fell out to 180, the fantasy draft equivalent to Mr. Irrelevant. The Clash at Demon Head might have gotten the best back in Denver, however, and it could end up being a huge value pick. Wow, that's a lot to think about, but none of the projections and draft picks truly matter until we see results. It's exciting to finally have some games count this week, and tomorrow we will preview our first 6 matchups, which includes a banger of an opening game of the week. Before we go, check out the preseason power rankings. Until next time, salute.